Everybody, this is Bo. We're back in the Sports Lounge. We're going to have a chance to have one-on-one with a legend in the state. His name's Al Mitchell. He's got so many championships under his belt for being one of the best boxers in amateur and professional fights. It's a pleasure to have him on the air. How you doing, Coach?
Oh, how you doing, Bo? How's everything going?
Good, man. Michigan's had some crazy weather, man. We were supposed to be in a drought. We've had nothing but rain. What is the deal?
Yeah, well, something now. The heat is the last 3 days. We're supposed to get rain, but we haven't got it. Everybody glad we haven't got rain. But now it's about 80-some degrees every day. It's been up in the high 80s. Unusual weather for Michigan.
Yeah, especially in God's country where you're at, because you are definitely up there.
I'm getting to love it, though. I'm glad to appreciate it. You know? I just come back from Colorado about 2 weeks ago out the Nationals, the U.S. Nationals. They had it in Denver for the second time, I believe. But they had the Junior Olympics, they had the women's seniors, and the men's seniors all together.
Now, Coach, you've the Northern Michigan had close-up operation, and you basically are building a brand new program. Can you tell us a little bit about it, Coach?
Say that again, please.
Northern Michigan University had closed its doors on the Olympic training for boxing, but you've sort of started your own thing. We'd like to have you share it a little bit with us.
Well, what happened, the program had closed down. It wasn't really Northern, it was USA Boxing and Olympic Committee. They closed it down. And what happened is Northern had to close the doors because of funding like most other universities and everything. Then they opened it back up in 3 months later. But what happened was young lady Sue opened up, had a fitness and had downstairs on the first floor, nothing down there. So she asked me would I like to open up a gym, and I said definitely. So now I got a gym here, and I probably got about 15 kids and about 35 adults. I got Dave Reed, the Olympic gold medalist from the 96 Games, and I got Anthony Stewart, 4-time national chair, and I got Gary Swanson, a kickboxer. So I got a little of everything going on through the week.
You know, Coach, with your background and the stuff that you've seen over the years, you know, what's incredible for us is that I talked to Marvin Goodwin, who's a sports reporter here, who wrote an incredible article about Hearns and Hagler back in the day. And I'm kind of an old-school boxer. I think it's the sweetest science. I'm looking forward to what you're putting together. What are kind of things that you're doing to try to keep with that vein of training that was considered old school, and now it looks like it's being resurrected by a lot of programs?
Well, I'm saying people trying to bring boxing back. Boxing is an unbelievable sport. It was the first sport in the Olympics. But you look at the Tommy Hearns in their area, and you look at our area now, and it's a lot of our kids that's going to basketball, football. But I'm saying a lot of younger coaches, and the younger coaches don't bring that good experience of teaching their kids and patience with them, you know. Just because a guy carried a towel don't mean he's a coach, you know. When I was coming up, every coach was in his 50s to 60s. They had a beard and everything.
Right.
I grew up in North Philadelphia. Every coach was an old-timer, and that's experience.
Absolutely, Coach. And I think if you know, the beautiful thing of technology is that all you have to do is key in any 80s fighter. They're moving. They're bobbing their heads. They're not standing stationary. And it seems like the more stuff you watch on, you know, TNT or ESPN or paid-per-view, the boxers move their heads, but they don't move their feet. And that's the one thing I miss from watching old-school fighters is they had razzle-dazzle. They had the movements. They used the entire ring. I think Brad Blackburn, who we just had on the show, is a mixed martial artist. He tends to use a lot of the ring, and he uses a lot of combinations in his fighting style. And it's almost one of the few guys that's not in boxing that remembers the old school that you have to move your feet, you got to move your head. And I know that you're coaching that right now.
Yeah, well, another factor is in the old days when young athlete comes in the gym and coach work with a kid and everything, he used what the kid had. I watched most of these coaches, they from the gym. I could tell you almost what gym a kid come from because of his style. Usually 99% of the athletes in the gym box the same way. To me, a good coach is a coach that take an athlete with skills he got and finesse them, work on those and everything. And I'm saying guys come from gyms that a coach will try to do this or try to do that, and that's where the problem's sitting, working with the kid's skills, what he has, and that's the way they did in the old days. If he was a good right-hander, they work on that, fine-tune it, they work on the left too, but they used what you had. And the discipline was unbelievable. You have to have discipline in our sport. And old coach, they preach that. They preach stand behind the jab, step around, use the ring, side to side. They preach it, and they made you do it over and over and over. I'm seeing different coaches when I go to the gym and I watch them. A lot of them don't have patience. A lot of them have to work 2 or 3 jobs when they make ends meet. When most of the old coaches, old timers, was retired guys, and it was in the gym 24 by 24. So it's a lot of little different things that's going on now. And then the attention span. I don't see the attention span there, you know. Sometimes I believe it's just the video games that they think about and everything.
You're right, Coach.
Yeah, it's just crazy the way it is, the system is. But every once in a while you see a gym come in the gym. He listens to what the coach say. He do everything. And you sit back, and that what keeps you in the gym. Every once in a while, a little 9 or 10-year-old, 11-year-old come in the gym. And you're about to quit and walk away from it, and then they come in the gym, and that keeps you for another 3 or 4 years. That's what life's all about.
Absolutely, Coach. And I think there's a new wave, I think, of mentality that's going on in coaches across sports right now. We have contacts in all sports, and we do some work for some of the high schools here when they give them to us. And some of the coaches and some of the trainers have other businesses that involve in sports. And, you know, a couple years ago, this wasn't the case. Now we're seeing it more and more, where these trainers are really speaking to discipline and character. They're talking about grades all the time, saying, if you're a character individual, you will always find a job. You will always be a professional. I've never heard that before. 15 years ago when I was in sports still, they never talked about that. They talked about how high can you jump, how far can you push it. Now it seems like they're trying to develop the full person finally. And you're seeing the results because there are a lot more kids are coming up that are they're looking good. They're the character person. You can go up and shake their hand. You can talk to them. The chips aren't there. It's got to be powerful for you to see it go back to that old school mentality.
Well, another thing is you got to understand the way the economy is now.
Yeah.
And the way it is. Money's not really in any sports there. You got to have an education. If you're going to be successful, you got to have an education. Even if you know how, if you want to learn how to write those checks and deal with the computers and everything. So you got to have an education. And the coaches now realize now that at the end of the road, if a young man don't have an education, no matter how good he is in the sport, if you don't know how to take care of that and don't have an education, you're not going to go far anyhow. You end up, how many times we see athletes lose all their money? Football player, basketball, baseball player. Millionaires, $34 and $50 million, and 5 years from now, it disappeared because they don't have an education.
Absolutely, Coach. Coach, we want to say thanks for being on. We're going to ask if we can give you a call in a couple of months to check on some of your fighters now.
No problem. You can call me anytime. It's always good talking to you. And anytime.
Thank you, Coach, so much for the time. Take care. That was Al Mitchell, boxing trainer, Phenom. He's got so much going on all over the place. Thanks, Coach.
Okay, take care.
You too. We are off the air.